Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with Changemakers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Yoshi. On the Coffee with Changemakers podcast, we explore the stories of changemakers taking on some of today's biggest social and environmental challenges.
Every episode, we host an intimate conversation on social impact and leadership, where we listen, learn, and connect over a cup of coffee with inspiring guests from all over the world.
So before we jump into today's episode, we have a quick ask. If you enjoy our conversations, it would mean the world to us if you subscribe, rate, and perhaps even tell a friend about the show. Your support helps us bring even more inspiring guests onto future episodes.
So, here's today's coffee chat. Enjoy.
So today on Coffee with Changemakers, we're joined by a truly inspiring voice at the intersection of art, mental health, and social justice. Dr. Ali Zlatar. Ali is an award-winning artist, activist, and academic whose work challenges how we see the body, illness, and identity in contemporary society. Named to Forbes Asia's 30 Under 30, and recipient of global honors like the Diana Award and King Hamad Youth Empowerment Prize, Ali is the founder of The Starving Artist, a creative platform that amplifies marginalized voices and brings mental health conversations to the forefront through art. With a PhD in creative arts and academic appointments across the UK, she brings both rigor and heart to her advocacy. Her work spans from supporting refugees and youth with eating disorders to launching climate anxiety art campaigns across Europe. She believes in art not just as expression, but as resistance and healing. Today, we'll explore how creativity can become a powerful tool for change and how one person's vision can ripple across continents. Welcome to the podcast, Ali.
Wow. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to have you. So I'm actually going to start off by reading out a quote that I actually found on your website. And, when I was doing some, background research about, your profile, your background, and all of your activities, this one quote really kind of stood out to me. And it says, "I often use myself as the subject because I can go the furthest with me." Would you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of the different projects that I do, I work with so many different communities. And I think what I often understand is that I can't represent anyone else's lived in experience, but I really want to give a platform for them to be able to have a voice. So I apply that same principle to myself, where I know my struggles, such as an eating disorder, cultural upbringing, climate anxiety, many different things. And so I try to really use myself as both the subject and the researcher to really engage in why and how things have manifested, but then also help those outside of my lived experience maybe get a glimpse behind the curtain. So I started The Starving Artist because I had a very bad eating disorder for over 10 years. Traditional Eastern European parents did not understand mental health growing up. So that's why through art, they were able to actually get a better understanding of what I was struggling with. But then I also saw that my voice actually resonated with some other people. And they're like, wait a minute, that's similar to what I've been going through. So it really sparked a conversation. I think that's kind of why I like using myself, because I know me, I know how to explore me, and I want to help others be able to do the same.
Perfect. Wow. So that kind of really leads into my next question about your background and your childhood. So you said that you have Eastern European parents. That's super interesting. Where are they from? And where were you born and raised?
So former Yugoslavia. I also have family in Italy, mainly in Canada now. I was in Dubai last year. I'm all over the place. So let's say global citizen.
Yep. That's like Robin and I, so we totally understand. Yeah.
Wait, and Ali, I have to ask, like, as we were preparing to record, we were remarking on your beautiful swords behind your desk, and you have a fantastic setup. But where are you joining us from
In
today?
Scotland, in the UK.
In
Yeah,
Scotland, in
notice.
Glasgow.
Yeah, the
Okay.
weather is terrible, so hence the sweater. It's yeah, we don't have sun.
Okay. Well, we're on the same time, but I'm actually in London at the moment, so we're roughly the same part of the world,
Okay, okay.
and very cool to hear.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, both Robin and I are also TCKs as well. We kind of grew up all over the place, so we definitely understand your part of your journey, I would say. But talking about journey, so could you maybe sort of dive a little bit more about how this whole journey started? I know that you shared a little bit that you had some, eating disorders in the past, but yeah, if you could elaborate a little bit more on that experience to the point where you're comfortable sharing, that would be great.
Oh yeah, let's go right into it. I think for me, like it was not easy. There was a point in time when like I was too thin to walk up a flight of stairs, and
Wow.
I went in and out at different inpatient centers across Canada, UK. It's like a points card with the number of different places I went to,
Mm,
but I found that
mm,
nothing really worked. And for me, I was realizing that a lot of what happened was doctors just telling me what to do to get better, but they didn't
mm,
understand what I was going through.
mm,
So that's why with the Starving Artist, originally it was supposed to be a one-time exhibition and publication to really say, "Hi, I'm making art about eating disorders. Is anyone else doing the
mm,
same thing?" And I put up
mm.
an open call, and I was hoping maybe five, right? Five people, that'd be great. I had over 200 apply, and then I
Wow.
had over 30 universities that wanted the publication. So I realized that there
Wow.
was this lack of space for the artistic voice to really have conversations on health equity and experiences, and it really grew from there. But I think
Mm.
with what was really important with my journey, and the importance of art and change making is the fact that I like to use this metaphor of cake. I have a cake addiction, but if you are going to a restaurant and the chef gives you a chocolate slice of cake and you're like, I
Mm,
hate chocolate slice of cake, but the
mm,
doctor or the chef in this case would be like, no, I made this perfect recipe and this is the best cake. But you actually
mm,
have to understand the person's profile, their flavors, their preferences. And that's something you got to work with the chef in order to come up
mm,
with your treatment plan or recovery program. So that's
mm,
really why I'd say art is kind of that way you can maybe have this dialogue and break down those traditional models of how we're approaching change making. So whether it be migration or things like disability advocacy, you really have to be able to work with rather than on behalf. So yeah, I don't remember the question, but I just like talking about cake.
Well, both Robert and I have a sweet tooth, so we're both fans of cake as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I was actually looking through your artwork, I think one of the things that really struck at me was how raw and how real it was. Like almost as if I can actually, sense the emotions that you were going through. Like I'm not gonna lie, like some of those paintings, your artwork made me sort of like tear up in a way. And so I think that art as a means of communication in terms of creating that sort of or breaking down barriers and then allowing the viewer to be empathetic with the artist is definitely one way in which I guess science or I guess modern medicine has not really looked into enough in terms of helping people cope with these like mental struggles.
I'm actually really flattered that like my art like resonated, and I think for me, I don't shy away from topics because
Yep.
that further reinforces the stereotypes. Like say for eating disorders or AIDS and HIV, like you have a very like limited view of who and how someone suffers. It's not eating
Mm.
disorders aren't a pretty thin girl white disease. She's trying to lose
Yep.
weight for prom and eating carrot
Mm.
sticks, but it can affect anyone. And like
Exactly.
I try to show that in the way that you see
Mm,
behind the curtain. So um,
mm,
if anyone in the audience is interested, there's tons of artworks of me crying on the kitchen floor, or really
mm.
having these like struggles of like being in a restaurant surrounded by people and not finding something on the menu that I can have. And you can really just put yourself in my shoes to really get that glimpse. And I think that art, especially the way that I kind of do it, is fancy term autoethnographic, but I'm both the subject and then also I'm really trying to showcase like here, how do I phrase it? Um, here's this experience and here's why it's important. So
Mm.
it's sometimes I use memoryscape. So I take a moment in my life that I was like, this is something I need to process, and then I kind of paints in a way that either plays into it, plays away from it, like heightens it. So it's just using like my paintings are very small, so they're like 4 by 6. So it's almost like a photo. So you have to go inwards to really understand and get to see that intimate scene. And again, you have to really come close or get to know somebody closely to really get to see some of these more real and raw aspects. And again, only if you actually understand what people are going through, then you're actually able to make change. It needs to be person centered.
Interesting. Well, really quick question here. Like, do you come from an art background, or did it just all happen organically? I'm just really curious.
Um, all my family, science, like medicine,
Oh, wow.
and but for me, I was the one who's like, no, mom, I want to go to art school, and she was not
Wow.
happy with that.
Oh, wow.
But
Interesting.
but yeah, so let's just say it paid off, and I've taught art. I'm postdoctorate level in art, so she
Hey, you're
still
still a
wishes I'm a
doctor.
nurse. Yeah, exactly.
You're
Yeah,
so it all worked
exactly.
out in the
Yeah.
end. Awesome. All right, Norm, take it
Ali,
away.
I want to pick up on one thing that you said before we dive into the story of the starving artist. Is the word autoethnographic? So that means, as you
Mm,
explained it, having yourself as a subject, and that's an incredibly interesting approach because a lot of social entrepreneurs and change makers focus on their problem. Right? What was the problem that I had? Because if I have that problem, that means probably many other people have it, as you shared earlier. One question I have though is that must take a lot of vulnerability to draw, to make artwork of yourself on the kitchen floor and all these other expressions that you shared earlier. How do you deal with that vulnerability?
Oh, I mean, to me, that's just kind of how I live my life. Like, I think for like a long time, like I wanted to make people happy. And so part of that is always caring about others and that empathy. But then I realized that like no one ever asked me that. And then if anyone was to ask me that, I'd be like, I'm doing terrible. I'm having a bad day. And then nobody would really like want to continue that. But I think what's important is that honesty, because like I don't want to go through life being not the person that I am. Like
mm,
I think especially within my art, I realized that I'm okay having these conversations both outside of like outside I'll talk about my eating disorder experience or the issues of migration and visa processes, whatever it is. But then I'm also okay to do it through art. And I think depending on what type of person you are, sometimes you're able to reflect inwards and process it, and other people are okay sharing it. It's just knowing yourself and knowing like what type of person you are. And I wouldn't say that everyone needs to go around saying, I'm having a terrible day or I
mm.
can't eat in social situations. Like it's just you really have to know yourself and what works best for you. But as long as you're true to who you are, I think that's probably the best way to go through it.
Mm.
Mm.
That's a beautiful segue into the story of the starving artist because by you being open, by you being vulnerable, you've connected thousands of artists through the starving artist. So I'd love to hear how did you launch the starving artist? What was the origin journey? Where did it come from?
So it was that one publication and exhibition, but I think from there I kind of wanted to continue the project. So I launched other exhibitions and started working and doing workshops on art. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, there's other topics that I'm also dealing with. Like, I'm not just the starving artist, I'm also somebody who really cares about like art and activism. So one of the topics was climate anxiety. This was something longer into my healing journey of an eating disorder, but I saw how many pills and prescription bottles that I was using in order to get better. And I felt terrible because I'm trying to get better, but I'm creating so much medical waste. So then I really made art about that. And then that really opened that bridge to looking at other climate issues. And I think that's why I start with myself and only topics that either I want to help support the communities. Like personally, I don't have AIDS or HIV, but I really want to help give that art and that platform because I really understand that lack of space. But I also really understand that, like, for me, I have to care about a topic, and I care about too many things, which is why the Starving Artist is way too big and really able to reach so many different people. So yeah.
And I was listening to some of your other interviews and media appearances and things, and if I'm correct in understanding, the name The Starving Artist is a nod towards both the image of the starving artist being one who's struggling to make ends meet, but also a nod towards your previous history with an eating disorder. Is that correct?
Yeah, that it's the dichotomy of both. And I
Yeah.
think that I for full transparency, there's people who would be like, no, I don't want to apply to an organization that's called the Starving Artist. The name is it's not helping us, you know, it's not like the Tate Museum. And I'm like, but that's the point. Like reclaiming that art is not an accessory on the gallery walls, but it's actually something that's able to create change. So if you get it, then please like sign up. But if not, I completely understand. But I don't know. I think a lot of people resonate, so that's all I'm saying.
Well, clearly a lot of people are resonating because of the scale of your work, and I'd love to dive into some of the campaigns, the way it works. So, if I understand correctly, you connect, let's say, institutions, a project with your community of artists. But can you tell us a bit more about how it works in terms of the nitty gritty?
Okay, so it's different based off of whatever project it is, but it's always just trying to platform grassroots emerging voices to larger communities. So, say one of them was a menstruation equity campaign. So, we worked with local organizations in Thailand and Taiwan, doing very like grassroots work. But then at the same time, like I've been able to work with the OECD. And so then I'm able to bring artists up to politicians and be like, hey guys, these are the people you should be caring about. Don't look at the policy, actually look and understand their stories. So it's really just trying to figure out what's the best methodology to give the most impact. Sometimes it's teaching people the tools directly and helping them find their own voice. So that way the intimacy of like a workshop or exhibition allows for that space. But sometimes it's really looking at policy reform. So really helping people who are not into art whatsoever really have an understanding of why the creative voice really allows for this alternative approach. So let's say I'm a chef in terms of how I curate the activism too.
I love the chef and cake analogies. This is, and it's early
I'm
morning
very
here, so
hungry.
I'm getting hungry, but this is great.
Exactly.
One thing that really struck me about your work is that with artists, like financially, it's really hard sometimes, right? And I mean this in the sense that if there's let's say, a call for artists, often there's an application fee that the artist has to pay. And then to sometimes exhibit your work, the artist has to pay to exhibit their work in many cases. Is that right? So the way I understand what you do is that you also help to support local artists, both financially, but also in many other ways. And then you have this scholarship for inpatient mental health. But can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
Yeah, you highlighted all the problems within the art world, basically. I mean, especially now, there's a lot of digital applications, so it's more easier to reach more people. But regardless, institutions are meant, or many of them are trying to profit, and whether they sell art to make a commission or they fund their activities through the artists. But in that sense, the artist is not really valued for the time, the effort, the skill, and instead they're seen as a customer rather than looking at that. And that's kind of for me a very big issue. And not okay, again, artists aren't traditionally known for making a lot of money. That's why my mom said go be a nurse. But what I realized is that for me, this is a not for profit. So I don't care about making a profit. I could, but the reality is it's important to platform the emerging voices. So we don't charge any application fee, no participation fee. If there's an exhibition, we pay for transport for all the artworks to get shipped. There's things like we have to consider, of course, like copyright protection, and then also say disabilities. Like not many people can physically come to an exhibition. Or we did a rural what do you call it, a rural revolt project across Europe, so it's very hard for somebody from the rural regions and mountains of Spain to actually get their artwork shown. So we did a VR exhibition to allow people to have this space to actually connect. So what I try to do with the starving artists is counteract a lot of the problems of the art world through that focus on inclusion and accessibility.
That's so cool.
I'm trying
Interesting.
to, yeah. Sorry, go for
Wow,
it.
if I may kind of chip in here, wow, I mean, I didn't know that there were so many hurdles. What's one way in which you know, you, from your perspective, from your experience, one thing that you would suggest that we could make this a lot more sustainable, like economically, financially sustainable for artists like yourselves and others in the community? Like, what needs to change, do you think?
I think government's not cutting back funding on the art sectors, because
Uh,
a lot of the ways that, say, most not commercial galleries sustain themselves is through grant programs. So then they're able to
mm,
have artists come and stay as residents, and they're able to host say different events for artists to come and create and work and show. But um when art is seen as that, again, that accessory, people don't care about it and they don't see the importance of it. So there's a joke whenever I'm doing the policy stuff where they're like, okay, the arts person and the sports person, you guys are put in the corner, let's let the big kids talk, because these are the
mm,
first things to get cut. In order to also make it more sustainable, it should really be looking at honestly just not being greedy. Like
mm,
it's, you don't need to make a profit um
mm,
on art, and if you are, then really, is that always the best intentions? And in the way that there's commercial art, and then there's art for, I'm going to say, exploration, self-discovery. Like, I'm going to go on a small little rant, but like the difference between the art you'd put in a hotel versus Ali crying on the floor are for two very different audiences, right? So it's really just trying to make sure that the line's able to support that other side as well, because right now everyone is very money driven, and um, it's tough. But I
mm,
also, sorry, wanted to highlight, I forgot about before, the scholarship. So all the funds we do raise through our publications, art-based reflection cards, helps go back into both sustaining the organization. So we don't charge anyone to participate, but if you would like to support in any way you can, we always appreciate that. And then any funds that are at the end of each year, basically, we have a scholarship that's open, and then people can apply to access inpatient mental health care, because art and mental health in treatment, they are so important to go hand in hand, and not just fighting oppositions. And especially for marginalized communities, let's just say if you don't look like the thin, frail alley with the limited number of beds in mental health care, there's very few spaces that are publicly funded. So if we can support in any way, we try our best.
I know a lot of people who struggle with mental health, and one of the barriers is cost, right? To get even online help is really expensive. So the fact that you're creating, using some of the funds raised through your projects to provide scholarships is clearly making a big difference for a lot of people. What I'd love to do is ask you about the challenges that you face. So you've built this from scratch over many years. You've impacted many lives, but you must have come up against a lot of challenges. And I'd love you to just share maybe one or two of those key challenges that you faced.
Okay. How do you start an organization when you have no money? You need to be able to apply for like a business license and things like that.
mm,
And you're like, oh, okay, this is terrible. But
mm,
what I really realized early on was that rejection is how do I phrase it? Rejection is going to happen, but when the right audience clicks, just maximize that. And then you have to also really understand that with art, it's definitely like I've done tons of applications, inbox filled of thank you, apply again next year. And we're trying to get funding to start an organization. It's tough. But what I think is really important is to just look at revalidating the work that you've already done and showcasing that to the people. So why they should be supporting you. Well, again, like the first exhibition, I was only hoping for 5 people, but the fact that I had over 200 and then the publications from the university, that's adding credibility and reaffirms why people should be supporting you. So even though you're going to get rejections, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So just reaffirm all the work you're doing, building your track record, and then the baby steps happen. It takes time and a lot of emails.
Lots of emails, lots of applications. One of my favorite TED Talks is called 100 Days of Rejection, where the speaker goes on a 100-day mission to get rejected every single day. And his learnings are incredible. It trains his rejection muscle to be able to take more and more. And he eventually becomes this very successful entrepreneur. But I love that topic.
That sounds like me, though. Like, I'll do a part 2. Yeah.
On the flip side, going through all of this whole journey, you must have had so many highlights or special moments. And could you possibly just share 1 or 2 rewarding moments for you so far?
Okay. I think personally, you mentioned a lot of accolades, and each one is so credible for industry validation. But again, I started the organization because I struggled. I didn't have a voice, and I felt incredibly alone. So when I'm able to connect, whether it be through a workshop or just through the people that, like, I have all their faces in my head, and it's just being able to see when it clicks with them and when they show, and essentially when they say like thank you for the work that I'm doing, that like I may be gonna tear up, but it really just is so special to me. So I think that don't get me wrong, I'm happy I'm on Forbes 30 under 30, but there's a reason why, and it's because I'm able to work and impact communities.
And to dig into that a little bit further, when times get tough, because as we're all founders and we all know that times do get tough, how do you keep going?
Cake. No, I think it's stubbornness. Honestly, it's like I'll show them, I'll be able to prove why this is so important and why people should care. So it's the stubbornness, but let's say healthily, it's passion, right? So you really know that resilience comes from a place of like you want to do it. It's just also just remembering different points in life require different things. So water different buckets. So maybe if you're getting a ton of rejection letters, focus on maybe building up the infrastructure or doing testimonies from the people you've already worked with. So yeah, cake again. I'm just gonna go back to cake. Yeah.
Cake. By the way, random question, what's your favorite type of cake?
Oh, okay. So it's called Medovic. It's like a honey cake. It's very good.
Medovic. Okay. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Red velvet is good too. Yeah, this is homework. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to sort of transition into insights and reflections next. So, Ali, you're on a roller coaster ride. The lows have been extremely low for you, unimaginably low, and the highs have been quite high too. But if you were to go through this whole journey again, like what would you do differently and why?
Oh, okay. I think like everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
But I think for me, it would be just understanding the process a bit more. So just like taking the time to like be like, okay, this is where I'm at and this is what I need, because a lot of times I was like, I need XYZ, like blah blah, like I need everything, but I'm like, what do I need right now in order to help with like just the next step? Because I'm someone who sees the full staircase and I'm like, oh, I need to be able to make this exhibition that goes all the way into the Tate Museum, but then I'm like, Ali, you're not even like a registered organization yet. Like you need to be able to take the first step. So like it's sometimes just taking it day by day, maybe.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I need to learn that lesson too, to be honest with you. Like as a, baby entrepreneur, like I try to do everything as well. And so thank you for reminding me that. That's incredibly important. Okay. So yeah, I guess my next question is, we have the reason why we reached out to you is because you are going to be attending One Young World this year, right?
I'm
Um,
I'm hopefully going to be able to
hopefully,
attend.
hopefully gonna.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Yay, hopefully. Keep my fingers crossed. But then, yeah. But when you do, like, I think you're gonna meet a lot of incredible, leaders like yourself from all over the world. Like that's a special thing about One Young World. But many of them are also looking for advice, inspiration, and guidance, right? So I know that this is still a couple months before the summit, but if you were to give, a word of advice to some of these aspiring change makers, what would that advice or your tip be? What would you like to share with them?
Okay, two things. One, you don't have to start your own organization. Just
Mm,
everyone that you meet at some of these big events, they're like, "Oh, I've done this and I've done this." And I know that I have some of my friends that just have the passion, but it's also time. And then also, there, if everyone has an organization, it's not gonna. We're all just gonna be talking through emails. But instead, like, you really have to
mm,
figure out where is your passion best to serve, right?
mm,
So, for me, I'm OCD. I'm on it. I can micromanage everything. Maybe my brain's meant to do a million things, but then I know some
mm,
people that just really want to connect with the communities. So getting
mm,
involved in things that like, say if you really want to look at gender-based violence, right? You can work with women's shelters in your local community and just be able to serve wherever is best. So when you go to an event like this, just show your passion and then see where it connects with people, right? Um, Look at the people, not the big labels, and just really find what communities speak to you. Is that
incredible.
cheesy? A little bit, but yeah.
Incredible. No, 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 not at all. Not at all. Okay. Nice, nice. So, um, just kind of going back to your personal growth and story. Um, What were some things that you learned along the way? And this could be about, building an NGO. This could be about, yourself as an artist or even in terms of personal development, character development. What was something that you learned about yourself along this way, like key growth areas, that you want to highlight or elaborate on?
I think it's actually the opposite. Um,
Huh.
uh,
Interesting.
Recovery is not linear and you're going
Okay.
to struggle with different things at different points in your life. So,
Mm,
giving a very vulnerable example, during the pandemic, everybody was like looking for toilet paper and you need to like hoard all the food. And then that made my eating disorder be like, whoa, I didn't know I need to have this, but I need to stockpile the safety food that I have. But then after the pandemic, when you have to eat around people again, wait a minute, new fear unlocked. I haven't done this in like over
mm,
a year. So
yep.
it's points like this where you realize that like um just being true to who you are and then being able to show that like you're resilient and you're still the same person. You're going to be struggling, but as long as you really focus on what are my healthy coping mechanisms, what are the ways that I've shown in the past that I can handle these new challenges. Um,
Mm,
I think that's maybe what the best form of growth is just realizing that life is not going to get easier, but you're going to have more
mm.
tools in your belt, hopefully.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. That's deep. That's deep. Thank you, Ali. Um, Up to you.
And Ali, looking ahead, I'm so curious. You've had this very unique trail to this path to where you are now. What's next on the horizon for you? Are there any exciting upcoming projects or dreams or challenges that you're excited about?
Um, Too many. So right now we just launched the Vulnerable Man. So it's a men and boys mental health exhibition and art-based reflection cards because especially in traditional roles, men have to appear very strong and resilient and keep emotions in. And I'm the opposite. I want everyone to just like be able to like find the space in order to do so and have a healthy way of going about it. So the exhibition featured so many diverse male voices, and then we also launched the art-based reflection card. So we mentioned earlier about the lack of affordable healthcare, especially with art. What we tried to do is look at intersectionality. So each card is like, how does your cultural upbringing impact the way that you feel about yourself? Make any artwork you want, whether it be music, photography, poetry, and then you ask yourself reflective questions. So this can be a young boy doing it with their parent, or it can be done in a group. Or if you have a stressful day after work, you pick up a card and you're like, I need to look at anger management. You pick up the card, maybe you make a song about it. And it's just a way to make inclusive care and, of course, putting arts in it. So doing projects like this, again, it's come a very long way from the starving artist, but it's really just reinforcing that I'm going to be stubborn and put creative art into everything that I do to really help people heal. So, yeah.
I really love what you just said about the vulnerable man art-based reflection cards. I'm actually looking online as we speak. This is very exciting.
I'll send you guys them. It's easy.
This is so cool. And the reason I think this is so, I mean, you already know this, but men's mental health is such an overlooked topic, especially in Japan, right? In a lot of Western contexts, there is more discussion around toxic masculinity and how do we get it more in touch with our emotions and things. But where we are from, where we spend a lot of time in Japan, is that there isn't that conversation to the same extent. So I think this kind of thing could be so interesting and something that I'm really passionate about. So thank you for sharing. And I'm also really curious. You know, you seem like a person with many passions and many interests and many talents. What's one thing that we haven't talked about today that's important to you, or that you'd like to talk about with our audience?
I think for me, what's something I'm passionate about? Okay, so randomly, reality TV is my bread and butter. I am obsessed with 90 Days Hunt for Love. So if there's anyone in the audience that watches the 90 Day franchise, I need somebody to vent to. So this is
so
my PSA.
I'm gonna check this out straight after our chat.
It's great because it's international couples and they all are trying to figure out how to make it work. So it's a great show. Oh wait, question for you guys: what's your favorite slice of cake or favorite cake?
Oof.
No, I asked the tough ones.
Okay, I have this is a very clear answer for me, is apple crumble. And I say that because I'm in the UK now. I come here usually once a year. I love a good apple crumble.
No, that is a pie. That is not a cake.
Oh dear, this is controversial. Okay, Yoshi, I'm gonna hand over to you. I'm in trouble.
Okay, sorry. My answer is not as interesting as yours, but I'm just gonna go with New York baked cheesecake.
Ooh, those are good. I just came back from New York and I went to Junior's and it is dangerous.
Right. Yeah.
But it's okay. We all have our favorite foods, so
yes,
it works. No.
I love it.
Ali, this has been such an enlightening conversation, and it's really rare to see someone who's on the forefront of art, of community building, of mental health, of human rights, social justice. Where can we find your work? How can our audience support you in what you're doing?
Any way possible. So if you're interested in getting involved with the starving artists, just send an email. We're always looking for new voices, even new projects, communities. If you want to get in touch with me personally, Ali Zlatar on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm chronically online, so I'll probably be able to to respond as soon as possible.
Great. We'll make sure to do that. Well, thank you so much, Ali. It's been an incredible, 30, 40 minutes chatting with you. And I guess, just to highlight some of my personal takeaways. First thing is to check out Midolvik Cake. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but okay, I'll definitely check that out. And the second thing you said that really going to stick to me is the fact that not all journeys are going to be linear. Because I'm running my own startup right now, I have this expectation of myself and my team to always go up, 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 to the right, to the top right corner of the curve, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, put a lot of pressure on my teammates, and it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. And I think that, through this conversation, you kind of reminded me that, sometimes we got to embrace the zigzag journey, right? Not all journeys need to be this linear straight path to the top right corner. And actually life probably doesn't work out that way for most people. So thank you for that reminder. How about you, Robin?
Yes, I've really loved this conversation, and my knowledge of cakes has improved rapidly. And
I did my job. Yeah.
but also, I'm going to pick up a couple of things that stood out to me. Is one, you've mentioned the word stubborn several times, and stubborn has a negative connotation, right? But when we're talking about social change, stubbornness and optimism and the perseverance to continue are critical ingredients to the cake of social change, right? So I think the key, what you said there about stubbornness, about change not being a sprint, it's a marathon. We're in it for the long haul, is a really, really powerful message. And that's something for me, as I am now in my late 30s. When I was in my 20s, I was like, I'm going to try and get everything done now. I'm going to change everything. But then you realize that actually it's quite a long journey. I still have my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, my 70s. And so I love that you've really brought that out in the conversation. Secondly, what you said about you don't have to start your own organization. I cannot reemphasize this enough. Like, if everyone were entrepreneurs, our society in some way would fall apart, right? There are ways that we can drive new innovations, new projects, new campaigns as intrapreneurs inside companies, inside universities, which are sometimes much more powerful than starting your own thing. So those are two very powerful messages, and I've really loved this conversation.
Thank you guys so much. I'm really glad that our talk resonated. It's been good therapy for me too this morning. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Amazing. All right. Well, to all of our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share. We'll be back with more stories of impact very, very soon. So remember, coffee friends, the power to create change is in your hands. So keep leading the way, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Let's keep brewing change one cup of coffee at a time, and also with good cake. Thank you, Ali.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Ali.